Good morning, everybody. This is COOLA from Raw Stocks. We are coming to you live on our pre-market prep. Hope everybody had a great weekend. Sorry I missed you guys yesterday, but there was we had a lot of things going on. A lot of things going on, fam bam. So, anyways, do want to do a shout out to our sponsors, Black Box Stocks and Gamma Edge. Without those guys, we would not be able to provide this show and this data for you. So I want to do a big shout out to those guys for sure. So, with that being said, make sure you check the links out and wherever we post this, whether that's YouTube, X, or TikTok. Make sure you check our profiles for links to check out those guys. We have some discount links for our affiliate links. So, moving on, want to make sure that we are checking out what's going on in SPY. So, yesterday was an interesting day. I think everybody and their brother was super bearish based on kind of some of the macro that's going on, but ended up being a pretty nice day. Today is Tuesday. We have job openings that that are going to be coming out at 9. Why is this so messed up on time? Tentative. Okay, that's fine. Okay, so Jolt's job openings open. That's at 9 o'clock. Okay, so that's 30 minutes after the open that you need to be careful. All right, this can move the market big time. We're looking at that, and then we see total vehicle sales. So this could impact, I don't know. This says all day. I don't even know what that means, but you can keep an eye on that. That may give you some insight on something like Tesla. Um, and then we have a bunch of Feds talking today, so need to be kind of watching that. And then, of course, non-farm employment change tomorrow. Moving into unemployment claims on Thursday, and then average hourly earnings right here is the big one, and unemployment rate on Friday. This is a big one as well. So keep an eye on that. And then consumer credit. This is going to be a big one. People want to see what this is right here. Okay, it's not like critical. They don't have this marked as critical, but this is a big insight into like kind of how our economy's doing. How many people are just loading up their credit cards. So all right, well, let's take a look at the data here. What do we see on our data? So let's take a look at some ranges real quick. So let's take a look at SPY real quick. We can see the nice little expansion and extension right off our previous positive gamma area here. Made us push towards that 592, and then it kind of just getting hung up here a little bit. But is this all just a fake breakout, or is this going to get some type of continuation up towards the previous high over here, or even an all-time high, where we see this thing just kind of come get the contraction off these moving averages, and then get the distribution up towards these highs up here. So let's take a look real quick. Let's pull this over. Let's take a look on the day here. This is SPX. Switch over to SPY real quick. Well, let's look full context here. Very much call dominated. Not super heavy, but decent amount. You can see the draw at 600 here is pretty large for 600. And it looks like a big chunk of those come at 620. So about 3 weeks out, it looks like visiting that 600 area. And then alternatively, some of that is this week too, but there's a big chunk of that at 600. So will that get past 600? I don't know. That's kind of where things get gray, right? So it may draw it to it, but that's within the next 3 weeks. But is that going to push past that? We'll see. There are some larger nodes starting to kind of grow here. Let's look at today's. Here. 590 to 592. This looks very much more so like a bullish pivot. Okay, and so someone's got a hot mic. Take a look at it, please. Jaguar, it's you. I'm gonna go ahead and mute you. Thank you, Jaguar. Um, excuse me, lost my train of thought. Expansion. So we're looking at, let me take these levels off. They're really not really relevant anymore. So right now we're seeing virtually, let me pull this back up. Okay. 592 to 590, it looks like a bullish pivot, right? So get over 592, you can see some stacking start to get squeezed in towards potentially that 600 area, right? Into that 600, 602 area. Has potential. Realistically, looks more so like a potential chop day, but if you do get over the top of that, watch for that to happen. So let's take a look where we're at. Let's highlight our pivot zone for the day, 590. So this is where we have our options range for the day. So yes, we're sitting right at the top part of this, right? So for me, when we see something like this, and there's a decent hard line here, right? Not crazy, but a decent hard line. This would generally speak for me to say, over the top of 592, you're looking for this thing to get squeezed up towards that 595 range. And we'll look at SPX here in a second and see if it gives us some more insight before I give my full analysis on this. But anything below this, 592, we're virtually looking to short. Now let's take a look at SPX, see if we see some confluence on our range here. So let's take a look at the data. Let's pull the data. I just love Gamma Edge, y'all. I just love them. They're the best. Okay, full complex here. There is a decent amount. Again, 620. So there's obviously a big play at 620. It's probably part of JP Morgan's collar, to be honest with you. And we're seeing this very much neutral net gex here. Okay, very much neutral net gex. So there's some stronger pulls to the downside here overall. But there's a solid 6,000 draw. So that's kind of where we're looking at that. That's kind of equaling it out. All right, so here you go. So this would be more of an indication that we see virtually a 590 to a 595 visit. Okay, 590. That's virtually where we're at with that. A little bit less than that, 593 and a half. So gives us right here in this range, in the supply range, it's kind of where we're topping out, 59.60 and 59.55, right in this range. So look for a potential topping up towards this if we maintain over the top of the yesterday's high. Okay, so utilizing yesterday's high as a potential pivot point, but no, there's supply areas up in this range that you need to be very cautious of. And specifically, our range runs from, let's double check, 59.55 to 59.15, 59.55, close enough, to 59.15. Okay, so range for today, right here. So what this tells me, like I said, we see, I'm going to do an overlap here. We see virtually 592 to 590 in this zone here for SPY, right? And then you see SPX is actually a little bit larger than that. So this is kind of where everything is bullish. SPY gives you the green light over the top of this range here. And then we're seeing actually SPX draw us up into this 59.50 area. So where do we look to go long? We're looking to go long anywhere towards that 590 range, looking to maintain 590 or 5900. So this turns into something where you can say we're long here, down here, looking to hold 5900 and looking to get the expansion up towards the top of here. It starts to grow into virtually a 2.77%, or excuse me, 2.77 risk versus reward here. It's not a terrible one. That's where you're looking to go long. or you can do the just virtually the pivot, right? So over 592 over yesterday's high, and you just play this thing with an ultra tight stop loss, and anytime this thing goes over the top of this, you're looking to go long and maintain it. All right. This really isn't an ideal strategy for options. Let's just put it that way. Okay. It's not an ideal strategy, but for futures or something like this is where RVR really comes into play. You could utilize something virtually saying you're long above this and you're stopping and below it. And if it wants to play a rope here, then so be it. Or you can look for a breakout, maybe a retest, and then look to enter right here and see if it maintains that as well. So there's a couple of different ways you can play that, but I prefer in regards to options to try to get entry down here before we look to see a potential run up towards that. Now, can it absolutely just run from the get-go up to that range and then stall out here? Yeah, that's a probability too. That's a decent probability. 592 cut off right here virtually with SPY, but if it makes its run up to here quickly, I would watch for the move to be sold on and get a confirmation before potentially seeing that bounce here. If we slip this area, right? If we slip this area before, like if we make this move first and we slip this area, then 5,900 or 5950, 5915 may be your target. Okay. So if we get this initial move up, watch this area to act as a pivot. Okay. Watches this area act as a pivot for a potential short for this thing to run towards the bottom of our range today. We have confluence on both SPY and SPX that the low is towards 5915 or 590. Okay. So there's confluence there. But the real tricky part will be where to go long at. Okay. Um, all right. So that's kind of where we're at on SPY here. Let's take a look at some. Let's take a look at Nvidia real quick. Okay, Nvidia sitting here at 138. Yesterday I didn't even look at Nvidia. I traded a little bit of SPY, just kind of um, at the open. I kind of bought some 592s, and I left them, and I ended up making, I don't know, like 50%. Yeah, I didn't even. I bought them. I knew the target to the upside. I looked at the price. I said, "Oh, I could do that," and I bought them and didn't look, and it worked out. I just left the thing till close, and just kind of a bit of a lotto in the sense that I know the range, I knew the price I paid, and I knew what it would be if it got there, and it ended up working out and making like 50%. So sometimes that's the best way to actually day trade, right? Know when to where to buy, and then don't look at it. If you get a good value on it, could I gotten a lot better? Oh hell yeah, I could have gotten a hell lot better if I bought on the bottom of the range like we're talking about today. But I wasn't available for that. Okay, so Nvidia sitting here right at this high. This is a telltale sign of being sold into right here. Okay, so previous high here, it tried to make it. We had a really tough consolidation. It tried to break out, and then we saw a breakdown. Now we're seeing another run over the top of this. So if we do see this break, I wouldn't be surprised to see it run towards this decision maker here at 139 to 140. Would not be surprised at all, aiming for this day's high here. And then maybe we see some type of consolidation or a pullback again, confirming this level. Let's take a look at what options tell us. Okay, so call dominated, 140 supply, 110 low. Uh, really, really pretty strong upside here, to be honest with you. And a lot of it, again, well, this one is very heavily weighted towards this week, but again, 620, right? 620 is a big one. That's the monthly right there, and it's pretty huge. 20% of the actual contracts expire on that date. So looking at this week, We're seeing a 132 negative GEX demand and a 140 supply. But you can see there is a decent amount of options that are trying to pull us up into that 146 and 147 range. So 140 to 132, 140 to 132. Okay, so this is kind of where we're at right now for the week, and we're on the high side of that, right? So this is kind of where I was talking about running right into above this, yes, this previous day's high, and then maybe seeing some consolidation here. If you look at this and you say, virtually we had a decision to be made here at 140. We came, we tested it, we broke down below it, we consolidated, made a decision to drop down. Generally speaking, our first visit back towards a decision like this, we see it sold on. Even if it's relatively small or recovers quickly, usually we'd see this come up to this range, get sold on, and then maybe look for a confirmation. This was our pivot here, right? That we drew out the other day. Maybe we retarget 135 before making that run back up to 140. But the range does bring us all the way back down to 132. So watch it potentially target this this liquidity here at 133 virtually. Okay. Okay. So for me, where do I want to be long at on this? Man, this is not a great play for me. Okay. I'm not a big fan of going long here. However, a lot of things do indicate that we should be looking to go long. There's a positive net gex here, but I'm not a super fan of this unless we get over the top of 140, to be honest with you. If we get over the top of 140, then we can play the game of over 140, we're long. But with options, you really need to wait in towards that 135 to 132 range in order to go long on this on options, especially if you're not looking to average or something like that. Your range is down here. Now, mind you, that there is some type of head and shoulders here where you may see this thing even run back down here and you see an ugly head and shoulders type of look here, right? And you see it trying to draw back down into this range. There's that to be said. To me, I think you need to watch the 140 pivot point. If you take a look at how this looks on the daily, we see a nice recovery back over the daily 4, which I like to use as a as insight. Jaguar, you're unmuted again. You see this as insight as a potential recovery day, and then you see it try to run back up towards and get the extension back up towards that previous high, recovering the daily 4. We're at a pivot point. Remember, I talked about targeting this day's high right here. So keep an eye on that level right there, which is 139.62, to be a potential target and a pivot point virtually for us to try to run back up towards that 143 area. And then we talked about the speculation area of 146. So it's up in this range here. And you can clearly see that there is a big part of this being a supply up here. Okay, so keep that in mind that we've been up here multiple times and it's always turned into some type of supply. Now, if we ever get the break over the top of 150 at this point, there really needs to be the idea that this could be an extension. We have a great gap over the 20 here, and we reclaim the 200. So will we see the expansion off of this? Is something where we're looking at right now. Jack, I'm gonna mute you, server mute you for now. Sorry, bud. So will we see the expansion off of this rising up into that 150 area before seeing a sell down? Possibly. Okay. We talked about the options of the week being down to 132. We have a gap unfilled here all the way back down to 131.29. And if it was the case that we got to 140 and we sold back down towards that 135, 132 range, I think that might happen later on in the week and we'd see it retest the 20. But right now, I lean more bullish than I do bearish on this. Even with the macro data, I would really watch this thing trying to get an expansion over the top of 140 for some type of squeeze here. There is the cup and handle type of move here that we may be experiencing and seeing some type of move up and getting the expansion over the top of 150. Take a look at Tesla real quick. Tesla is an interesting one, right? So we saw, sorry, we saw this pivot point here at 360. We talked about this, and it got up and towards that 360 range, and then we saw this thing sell all the way back down, trying to target some of these lows here. This is demand of this consolidation. Came off here yesterday and had a solid bounce and closed near that 342, 343 area. Um, but didn't quite get into our daily 20, but it did use this as a test. So we do have a curling daily 4. When we see a close like this one here, under the 4, that shows some relative weakness, but this is a potential reversal candle here. Okay, if it just slightly more would have shown this green, and we could have seen this thing really probably take off in the after hours, but we didn't see that. So is this signs for a reversal, for a move back up towards 350, 360? I think there's a good chance of it. I think you need to be watching and seeing how it treats the low of this day here. Okay, the low of this day is at 342, or excuse me, the close of that day. Okay, so keep an eye on this as a pivot point. We're above it right now. Watch for it retesting 342 and maybe see a bounce off of that. But let's take a look at the data and see if it supports my analysis on here. So overall, call dominated gamma conditions, 320 to 400 on the full complex here. Pretty strong net gex, not as strong as NVIDIA, but definitely has its range. So last week we took an opportunity to take a lotto for a virtually a 325 visit, and we were a little late, or a little early, excuse me. If we would have taken that for this week, we would have been killing it. Looking forward to make that run down like it did, but that's the way lottos go. We lost that one, 100% loss in that lotto. You just got burned on it, but it was a nice move down. This is exactly what we were looking for. And now what are we seeing? 330 to 350 is what we're looking at on the supply and demand here. So let's map this out on our day trading chart here. 330 to 350. So 330 to 350. We're right smack in the middle of this, okay? And a lot of people would consider this like bear flaggish, right? So we'll see if this thing wants to revisit into this 350 zone before possibly getting the move back down towards that 330 zone, clearing out this liquidity down here, these equal lows down here. There's a lot of things going on here before maybe seeing that move back down. If we do get over the top of 350, watch the expansion to 360. Grow, and then we'll see if at that point if it wants to get a continuation over the top of that for a retest of these recent highs here. So this week, NVIDIA not in a great place to make any type of swing, in my opinion, unless you're over we see a power move over 140. And then Tesla, not in a great spot here, as you're clearly right here in the middle of this range. There's no great time to take any type of play here. Unless you get to 350, you look to go short. Or if you get towards that 330 area, you look for it to go long and maintain 330. So these are your two different areas here. I'm not thrilled about any day trade today. minus going long at like 5900 or 5915 or 590 on SPY. Those the only things that I really like. Today, I don't like the look of Tesla. I don't like the look of Nvidia. There's a high chance that we kind of make a small push up and then we see some type of move down, or if we see the early move down, watch for that to be bought up and make its visit up towards that 350 area later on in the week. But where it stands right now, it's not a great place to enter. But I think you need to watch 350, you need to watch 330, and then keep in mind that we're seeing a pivot point here at 350.89. It's probably going to drop one more time, and that'll probably be closer to that yesterday's high. So um, when we open, this will move. You'll see yesterday's high act as a pivot point, and that's right near 350. So that's kind of what we're looking at in regards to those tickers. Everything looks great for a potential bullish move. It's just positioning um, where you want to get in at, right? So that's what we're looking at today. I'm not a huge fan of these. I'll probably be looking around to see if there's some other tickers that I may want to play that maybe have better positions. But as of right now, that's kind of what we're looking for. Um, I think the best thing you can do is set your alerts on these ranges and then sit on your hands till you get there, especially if you're playing options. But if you're looking for anything, everything points as call dominated. You're looking to potentially buy the dip and make that move up. So hopefully this is helpful to you. And if you're interested in seeing more content like this, or if you're interested, I know we have several people in here now in our Discord channel watching this live. You don't have to be a premium member to see this. With our Discord, we do give this out to all members in the morning. If you catch it live, the replay is instantly posted to our premium channel, and then we release this post open out to the public on our YouTube, X, etc. So come check us out, rawstocksllc.com, rawstocksllc.com. Thanks for tuning in. Make sure you subscribe. Make sure you turn on your notifications. And until next time, catch you later.